Well, hello there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you once again. Wanted to share another coaching girlfriend with you, Diamond Drip. She is a business resilience coach. She works with coaches, sales professionals, as well as entrepreneurs and helps them level up their leadership as well as their public speaking skills. So I can't wait to share her with you. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty, show you the three keys to igniting your confidence, your impact, and most definitely your income. We'll see you on the other side.
Hey Inga, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, girl. Glad to have you. So I'm super excited to talk to you about these three keys to leveling up well, really igniting your confidence, your impact, and your income. But before we get into that, girl, we want to get in your business and find out a little bit more about you. Tell us about you, who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them.
100% Inga, thank you. I am so happy to be here. And for sure, just a little bit about me. So I have been in the digital marketing space for about 4 years now. It's actually where I got my start. I actually started in the space as a graphic designer. And one of the things that I found was that I was doing the work, but I was also doing a little bit of coaching alongside that, just complimentary. And I found that when I really searched within myself, it was the coaching piece that gave me the most joy. Because while bringing someone's vision to life through Canva or Adobe or whatever software I was using at the time, it did give me a lot of joy. Seeing business owners say that a strategy that I told them or a marketing funnel that I helped them set up helped them actually increase the revenue in their business, like that made my heart soar so much more. And so it's through this combination of my visual communications experience and the digital marketing experience that I'm able to help my clients, who are those entrepreneurs, coaches, and sales professionals, in the best way that I can.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so you said you started off as a graphic designer. So, what made, outside of just figuring out and helping other people, I guess, walk out their dream, that's what really ignited you to really start this thing?
100%. This facet of my business, it was a combination of two things. It was one, of course, seeing that I had a lot of joy with the strategy piece, but then also AI. I'm not going to lie. AI definitely played a role. I was one of those people who was scared that it was going to take my job because, it was able to create brand identities. It was able to do video editing. It was able to animate characters and text to image was a big one. And so I was one of those people who was scared, but then I realized I have this whole other skill set that
Right.
AI doesn't have. Like AI can look at your business model and spit strategy for you in ways that you can understand without asking it a bunch of prompts. I'm talking about ChatGPT.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Because I know people are kind of nervous about AI taking their job. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's great for framework and giving you a frame for what you're doing, but you got to give it as my buddy said, you got to Ingafy it or you got to diamondfy it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's nothing but just gibberish because everybody can get it. Exactly. So tell us a little bit more about these three keys. I mean, you talked about confidence, you talked about impact, you talked about income. Why these three?
Yeah, 100%. So, when it comes to the three keys of confidence, impact, and income, I found that really confidence and impact, especially when you think about online presence impact, they're really interdependent upon one another. Because
Right.
if we're not confident getting visible online, most oftentimes we're not going to.
Right.
Because while you may have the confidence to actually make the video, there's a whole nother set of things that has to happen in order for it to leave your phone and then go online and actually reach your target audience. And so because confidence and your impact are so closely related, I talk about these things interchangeably, because even with something like your Google My Business page, getting that set up, if you're not confident of the next steps to take, then sometimes it's easy to push it off.
Right.
Right? I'll set up my Google My Business page later. And then if you're like, how I was. And this is why I encourage my entrepreneur clients to do it, even
Right.
if you don't know what you're going to put on it yet. Because I found that when I finally was ready to get my Google My Business page set up, like I was ready. And so
Right.
I was expecting it to get done, within 24 hours. But
Right.
what ended up having to happen was I had to get mailed a postcard with a code so that I could verify this is where I live. And that set me back a week and a half.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So because I wasn't confident of the steps and because I didn't take action, one of the quotes that I like to use is the cost of inaction is often always greater than the cost of the next step. So
Right.
if I would have just taken the step of like, okay, let me see what all goes into this, I would have seen, hey, they got to send me a postcard. Let me go
Right.
ahead and get this started in advance.
Right. Right. Yeah, that is a common thing. People love to get this. Well, in my experience, I won't say all people this way, but in my experience in dealing with people, I have noticed that they love to get the knowledge, but when it comes time to translate it into action, it's a hesitation there for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I'm curious, with the people that you've dealt with in your consulting business, what are some of the hesitations that people have in taking the action step?
Exactly what you just said about information. So we are living in a time, it's a beautiful time, honestly, especially for people of color, right? Because we didn't have access to all of this information beforehand. It was kind of like gatekeep, or was it gatekeeper? It was like that kind of like fence there. And so
Right.
now we're living in this beautiful time where anyone from anywhere can just create a ChatGPT account or create one of these other AI accounts, even just go on Google, right? You don't even have to create an account and just get loads of
Yeah.
information. But
Yeah.
what comes with that, especially with things like marketing strategy, is that you have loads of information now. You
Right.
have hundreds of ways that could possibly work. You just don't know which one is going to work for you for sure because
Right.
you didn't have that as well. Obviously, as a coach, I'm going to advise to trust in an advisor, and you didn't have that. So, when you're looking on YouTube, when you're looking on Google, when you're using ChatGPT to help you come up with these solutions,
Hmm.
you kind of need a human
Right.
like bounce ideas off of, and it's preferable that the human has been where you're trying to go,
Exactly.
because if they have been where you're trying to go, then when progress isn't as quick as you want it to be, they can reassure you, trust the process,
Right.
it's gonna work.
Right.
Versus like just having information, like you're like, oh well, this didn't work, so let me try this other thing, and you don't commit to the process of like actually seeing, can this strategy work for me?
Right. Right. Totally, totally agree. Totally agree. So now that we've talked about the confidence, and you said confidence and the impact are kind of hand in hand, how does that come into play when we're talking about income?
100%. Yes. So, base level, if we're doing the things that we know are going to help us on social media, which is doing video content, if we're getting ourselves out there by hosting like master classes or 3-day challenges that give our target audience a taste of what it is that we have to offer,
Right.
if we're doing these things and we're setting ourselves up for success, then success will come.
Right.
Especially if you are making sure that the language that you're using to attract people into your master classes or to attract people to your social media is the
Right.
language or the pain points of your target audience. Like they're going to instantly know, like, hey, that's what I'm struggling with.
Right.
What's this about?
Yeah.
And when you have those eyeballs on you and you're able to convert those eyeballs into prospects, which is when that interest kind of peaks, that's
Right.
when, they're kind of in your ecosystem a little bit. Maybe they've come to a couple of your master classes. Then at that point, you're building connection. And it's that connection that equals currency at the end of the day, because people have to know, like, and trust you enough to do business with you.
Right.
So the income will come as the trust increases.
Right. Right. Now, I want to say this. I know oftentimes people hear this and they're like, "Oh, Diamond, you're spot on." But how long does it take, Diamond? I know you said it will come, and I know it's going to be a process and it's a journey, but how long? How do you answer that?
That's a great question. So many people, like you said, they do want to know how long. And unfortunate as it is, because I've been in those situations where it's like, ooh, I've been listening to, podcasts or videos like this. And it's like, ooh, they asked the question that I want to know. How long does it take? Tell me the answers. And unfortunately, there is no straight answer because it really does depend on the person. And what I mean by that is if you're an entrepreneur and you think that you're clear about your target audience, but you haven't maybe double checked in terms of like, are these things clashing? Are the things that I'm talking about clashing? Then what ends up happening is you put out a confusing brand message and people aren't really sure what you do. So they may come to some of your things and they're like, oh, I didn't know you did this. And then they may come to something else. Oh, I didn't know you did this. And so by the end of the day, they're like, okay, they do this and this. I wonder if they do this, but like the confusion just makes them not take action because they're just like, oh, they can do a bunch of stuff versus someone who is very clear and they've made sure that they've done what I like to call my program potential client interviews so that they have that language that they need in order to make sure like what it is that they're talking about as a solution actually is a solution for their target audience and that their target audience knows exactly what they're talking about. Like if your brand message is that clear and everything that you do around that brand message, whether it be your email marketing, whether it be your social media campaigns, whether it be your masterclass material, if everything is 100% resonating with that same message, then people are going to be able to take action.
Right. So when it comes to rebranding and you're trying to figure out what to say and how to say certain things to your niche, I know you were talking about how you do interviews and you talk to your folks and you get the inside scoop through those interviews, which is very similar to what I have done when I use my surveys. I'm just not talking directly to them. They're just answering surveys on a piece of paper. So then you're able to truly find out what people are saying and how they're saying it. So when you're writing something on a landing page or you're saying something in your sales newsletter or your video newsletter, you're saying it exactly the way they say it to the point that they're like, oh my gosh, she's in my head. She knows exactly what I'm thinking. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that's important and how to do that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I will use the example of my first ever attempt at doing a masterclass. So I knew that I started a program back in March to help me with virtual events because it had been my first time navigating that space. And I found a mentor who, like I said, had been where I wanted to go. She had 600 people on her event. Wow. So I'm like, obviously, I need to learn from this woman. So I joined the program, and my very first event, I thought I had it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I built my program already. I know exactly who I'm going to help. Like, this is going to be great. I know what they need. And the first class that I did was how to improve it was like how to improve your morning productivity or something like that. I forget what it was. It was useful information.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but my people weren't out there saying, I really need a more productive morning. Like, yeah, that's what people are saying. And this is why my efforts online kind of resonate with that now. Is what people are saying is that they need help generating leads. What people are saying is that they feel like they're spinning their wheels because they don't have clear certainty on the message that they're putting out into the world.
Yep.
What people are saying is, I'm meeting a lot of people, but feeling like I'm making a lot of friends and not a lot of money. And so these are the things that people are saying. So, of course, if I try and go against the grain and I try and push the message that I think that they need, people are just going to skip past me. It's so easy to just keep scrolling these days. Like, it's so easy.
So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that also leads to what you were talking about earlier about taking action. Because if you try to perfect whatever you're working on in your mind and think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you're like, okay, I'm going to wait till it's perfect before I send it out. And then you realize, like you did, you were talking about the morning routine. that went right over their head. Like, I ain't think about no morning routine. I need some leads, because if I'm out of leads, I'm out of business.
Yeah.
You didn't know that until you took it to the and let it be served to the people that you were serving it to the world. You had to put it out there so you could actually see it. And no kind of class or mastermind or anything like that is going to tell you that, or either predict how your thing is going to work out until you do it.
Yeah. You got to do the thing.
Yeah. So for sure, for sure. What are some other things that you have learned in, just taking action and seeing how it goes?
Yeah. My original business, when I first started out, I had two businesses and I was growing them alongside one another. And the reason why I no longer focus on Diamond Drip Solutions is because really, as an entrepreneur, you wear all hats.
Right.
So CEO, CFO, digital marketing strategy, like all of the hats. And I was doing that for two businesses, and I'm one person and I have 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week. So I knew that if I wanted to really focus in on one business, I was going to have to go all in. So my first business that I started was very much in person. So I was going to pop-ups, I was going to events and things like that, setting up tables, and my online presence would build as people would come to these in-person events and connect with me in that way.
Right.
So in a way, it kind of worked. I never really had to do any sort of like Facebook ads or Google ads or anything like that. But when I focused on the consulting business, it was kind of like I was starting over from scratch, especially in building an audience, because the audience for my first business, they're very like chill and laid back, and they want alternatives to orthodox medicine. So they're not, trying to worry about the stress of marketing strategy, quite frankly, or cold outreach or any of those things. So I had to start over with my audience. And so I was like, okay, right. I was in this program. They were teaching me how to host events and get people to come to them. So I was like, okay, my problem is I don't have an audience. So I'm going to just do it. And so I had hatched this crazy plan that I was going to do an event every week. And then sometimes I would do like twice a week, because just the events had that much value. And they were all for free. This is going to be awesome, because people are just going to come and they're going to get value and they're going to want more. And I did that for 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And I gained a lot of clarity during that 2 months. I gained clarity around what times work for people in terms of like my target audience, like what do people show up to more. I learned based on marketing, like what is going to really get people there. Is it mindset? Which I learned, unfortunately, even though people know that they are not happy with where they are, they didn't come to the mindset things, but they found the masterminds really valuable. They found the opportunities to learn, like during the lunch and learns, really interesting. So even playing around with the times for that. And so, I took action. I took a lot of action.
Right.
And I don't want to say, because it was not a waste, because I gained so much clarity about the events themselves. I'm like looking at my calendar. I gained so much clarity about the events themselves, about the content that people really kind of resonated with, because it allowed me to have metrics. So which talks converted the most, which talks resulted in people booking the most calls. And that clarity really helped me to come up with my new plan for September, where I'm only doing 4 events.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. But that has a lot to do with you just failing forward to success, and looking at failure as more of a key learning than, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. And that's oftentimes that what we are taught in the beginning, especially in school. You can't fail. Oh my gosh, you can't fail. You gotta make sure that you succeed at all costs. But definitely in the entrepreneur journey, you have your hills and definitely your valleys, and you realize that those hills are going to get you the valleys are going to get you to the hills, because that's where you truly learn. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you would drop up some good nuggets today, girl. Keep dropping them. Well, I wanted to close this thing out and just kind of ask you any final thoughts that you have when it comes to talking about these 3 keys. Can you give us a synopsis and then tell us a little bit about your freebie?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to use mantras that help me. And so I'm just going to wrap this up synopsis style with some mantras. So, in terms of the 3 keys of igniting your confidence, impact, and income, I would say to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
Because that resistance that's inside of you, we normally only feel that resistance when something is really about to have us grow. Like comfort and growth can't coexist at the same time. So
Right.
when we're feeling that resistance, especially when it comes to activities in our business that should result in growth, we're going to feel resistance to it because it's uncertainty. So feel the fear and do it anyway, because clarity comes from taking action. It's
Yes.
when we take that action that, like I said, I know now in September that doing 8 events in a month is not something that I want to do.
Right.
Instead, I want to put my all into the 4 events that I am doing so that people get the most value and that I show up in my highest alignment. When you do these things, I was going to say the impact will come. The impact will come because your message will get out there. But
Right.
also, as you're getting your message out there, especially if you're doing it through a business you love, the income is going to come because people
Interesting.
can tell when you're in your highest alignment. People can tell when you're actually resonating with the things that you're talking about, and they look up to that. They want more of that.
Yes. Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, so tell us about your freebie. I know you said you had a freebie for us too. So we all about free. If it's free 99, we want it.
100%. Yes. And I am one of those people too. I call it the free principle. I have T-Mobile Tuesdays, and every Tuesday they give away something free, and I'll go
Yes,
because it's free.
because it's free.
So yes, on my website, diamonddripconsulting.com, there's a little video refresher of just what I do. And then right below that is the link to book a leadership level up strategy session. I'm asking you to come with 2 or 3 of your biggest challenges in business so that we can sit together and I can get to know you a little bit more, see what strategies have worked, and actually give you some very specific tips on how to create a mini plan for success based on what you've tried already, some of the things that I've tried that have worked for me. And then at the end of our call, we'll see if it's a good fit to do more work together.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys got to call or get in touch with Diamond for sure. I put her website on the screen. It'll also be in the description below. So you guys don't have to worry about writing it down. You can just click the link below and keep it moving. But Diamond, you have been a pleasure to talk to today. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. For those that are watching, thank you for watching. If you have anyone you would love for me to interview, just reach out, drop me a DM, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.